That's the kind of stuff that has to be dealt with, and you've got to have the regulatory authority to deal with it, because if you have to wait for Congress to do it, forget it. So you're going to have that. You're going to have a council of financial advisors that are going to look for particular problems and will act. There's a resolution trust, much like the FDIC, where all these big financial institutions are going to have to pay before the problem occurs. They will be assessed, just like with the FDIC, there's an assessment provided. Now, one of the questions that is still up in the air is, what do you do about too big to fail? What do you do about the leverage issue? Now, I was, little me, as a freshman member, got an amendment into the House bill that caps leverage at 15 to 1. You know, the industry kind of went like this. Now, it's not in the Senate bill. And the idea is, well, we're just going to leave it to the regulators to deal with. Once the Senate passes its version, it goes to conference, and I'm going to work very hard to keep that language in the bill. Because if we don't do the things that are absolutely necessary to prevent all of this from happening again, it will happen again. Because greed trumps everything. Okay, so how many more minutes do we have? 12 more minutes. All right, so what questions do you have?
Did you say 50 or 15?
15.
That's good.
Yeah.
Could you comment a bit on Lehman Brothers or what's maybe going on? It's affected a lot of public agencies. The bill of Lehman Brothers affect a lot of public agencies.
So Richard Fuld was before the committee 2 weeks ago. I sat through 6 hours of hearings with both Geithner and him. And I got Geithner to agree that if we got an amendment into the bill that basically provides that TARP money can be used to make whole or partially whole those investors that were local, city, state entities that had invested in Lehman, that he would in fact authorize the use of that money. What Lehman did, as you all know, is play a huge charade on the American people. Many local jurisdictions have to keep their money in an interest-bearing account pending the construction of whatever project they're doing. And so that's what was happening here in San Mateo County with all of our local jurisdictions. I mean, some will argue, well, something could have been done slightly different, but in the end, these were investment-grade securities. It was a rating agency, which is another problem. We need lots more regulation of the rating agencies, which is actually in this bill as well. I forgot to mention that. But they rated them as investment grade. So why would anyone think differently about it? Well, so what does Lehman do? Lehman does what's called repo 105s. At the end of the quarter, they would take their liabilities and they would sell them to a company they created. The company they created would give them cash so that their balance sheet looked like they were, better off than they were. And then after the quarter was over, they would do the exchanging. Now, what about fraud that is that not? Okay, I think I've sort of answered that. So that's where we are. I did ask him one. I got one great question in. To show you, this is, you have to go with the questions that are asked. You can't repeat questions. And since I'm in the bottom rung where I sit, and I'm 5 hours into the debate or discussion or questioning, a lot of the questions are asked before me. But I'm sitting there and I'm Googling on my BlackBerry because I want to know how much money he had made in the course of being the president and CEO of Lehman, so that to see if we could claw back any of that money for San Mateo County and other jurisdictions. But in the course of finding out how much he had made, I also found out, and I'm reading this on my BlackBerry right before I'm about to ask the question, that he had transferred he had sold his house in Florida to his wife for $100. So that was one of the questions I asked him. And he gave the most cockamamie response. Well, she had art, and we had this, we had a cat. Everyone was sitting there like, what is he talking about? We all know why he sold it to his wife, so that it wouldn't be subject to being clawed back to those that were injured. Okay. How about people who have not yet asked a question? Yes.
My question is simple. Short of these people coming to testify against Congress for their misdeeds, if you will, what happens to them? Do they close to that 2005 protection umbrella that was created way back when, and they go to live a ever happy life, not creating one job out of all these billions of dollars? Because these people didn't invent anything. They didn't create a job. They didn't create a factory or a school, nothing. They just took it for themselves and left. And what happened? Isn't there a law that can grab these bastards and take them?
No, part of what we're going to do is create a law that's going to grab these.
Thank you. You gotta do that. You have to.
But you in a very, very simple way, you said it all. No one's gone to jail.
No.
They haven't even been slapped on the hand.
And they haven't created anything. They created money for their bank accounts, not one job out of these bastards. Not one.
Right.
Well, a lot of people have lost their jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 million Americans without employment, all because of the kind of
Thank
stuff
God
that's
there's
going
people like you that are hopefully.
Haven't asked the question yet. Yes.
I work at a hedge fund.
A good one, I'm sure.
But you hear, I hear all the time, the SEC is a joke. Nobody there, all the foreign stuff, and none of us were surprised because they really don't know what they're doing. And I'm wondering, just like we have here where we're having training for doctors, is there going to be some sort of law or something instituted to make sure that the people at the SEC actually know the business, that they understand how derivatives work? A lot of them, they didn't know enough